At 73, they thought I was just another lonely widower with deep pockets. They had no idea they were targeting the man who built the cybersecurity protocols that half of Silicon Valley still uses. I was sitting on my patio in Scottsdale, watching the Arizona sunset paint the desert mountains gold, when the notification chimed on my laptop. Another message from Victoria Sterling, the woman who'd been brightening my days for the past 6 weeks. "Good evening, my darling William. I've been thinking about you all day. The conference in London is going well, but I can't wait to return to Arizona and finally meet you in person. Victoria." Beautiful, sophisticated, 58 years old according to her profile. A successful art dealer from Phoenix who traveled internationally for work. We'd connected on a senior dating site called Golden Years Romance after my neighbor Carmen suggested I might be ready to start dating again. It had been 2 years since my wife, Margaret, passed away. 2 years of quiet dinners, empty conversations, and the kind of loneliness that settles into your bones like arthritis. But something about Victoria's latest message made my old instincts start tingling. You see, before I retired to Arizona to play golf and tend my garden, I was William Harrison, CEO and founder of CyberShield Technologies. For 35 years, I built security systems designed to protect people from exactly the kind of predators who target vulnerable seniors. I'd sold the company in 2018 for $340 million, moved to Scottsdale, and tried to become the relaxed retiree Margaret had always wanted me to be. But old habits die hard, especially when you've spent decades thinking like someone trying to steal your secrets. "William, I have wonderful news," Victoria's message continued. "The London Gallery wants to purchase 3 of the paintings I brought for exhibition. It's a significant sum, $180,000. However, there's a small complication with the wire transfer." And there it was, the hook. In 35 years of cybersecurity, I'd seen every variation of this play. Build trust, create urgency, manufacture a crisis that only the target's money can solve. It's the oldest con in the book, just updated for the digital age. But instead of feeling angry or embarrassed, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, the thrill of the hunt. I opened a secure browser and began running traces on Victoria Sterling's digital footprint. Her photos, her email addresses, her supposed business credentials. After 45 minutes, I had what I needed. Victoria Sterling didn't exist. The photos were stolen from a real woman named Patricia Walsh, a 54-year-old art teacher from Dublin, Ireland. The gallery Victoria claimed to represent had never heard of her. The sophisticated English accent I'd been hearing during our phone calls was being generated by voice modification software. My supposed girlfriend was actually a romance scammer, probably operating from somewhere in West Africa or Eastern Europe. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't just any 73-year-old widower. I was a 73-year-old widower who'd spent his career staying 3 steps ahead of people exactly like them. And I was about to turn their own game against them. I typed my response carefully. "Victoria, darling, I'm so sorry to hear about your wire transfer troubles. Of course I want to help. Can you explain exactly what kind of assistance you need? I have significant resources available, and nothing would make me happier than solving this problem for you." I was setting my own trap. The next morning, I drove to my neighbor Carmen Rodriguez's house. Carmen was 45, a cybersecurity consultant who'd moved to Scottsdale after burning out from the high-pressure world of corporate IT. She'd been trying to get me interested in her work for months, not knowing about my background in the field. "Bill, you look different today," she said as she opened her door. "Martin, alert. Carmen, I need your professional help. And I think it's time I told you what I used to do for a living." Her eyebrows shot up. "You were more than just a business owner, weren't you?" I handed her a printout of Victoria's profile and messages. "I'm being targeted by a romance scammer, but instead of being their victim, I want to become their worst nightmare." Carmen read through the materials, her expression growing more focused with each page. "Bill, this is textbook stuff. Fake profiles, stolen photos. Urgency about money transfers. How much were they trying to get? They haven't named a specific amount yet, but based on my research, these operations typically target retirement savings. They're probably after everything. My house, my investment accounts, everything Margaret and I worked for." Carmen looked at me with new respect. Most people your age would just block them and move on. Why do you want to fight back? Because they're not just targeting me, Carmen. There are thousands of seniors just like me, lonely, trusting, financially comfortable. Most of them don't have my background or resources. If I can expose this operation, maybe we can save some other families from losing everything. What kind of background are we talking about, Bill? I pulled out my old business card, the one that still made corporate executives return my calls within the hour. William Harrison, founder and CEO, CyberShield Technologies. Carmen's mouth fell open. You're that William Harrison? The guy who created the Harrison Protocol? Bill, your security systems protect half the Fortune 500. And now I want to use everything I know to destroy some scammers who think they can steal from vulnerable seniors. What do you need from me? I need help setting up a counter-operation. These scammers are about to discover that their latest target has resources they never imagined. That afternoon, Carmen and I set up a war room in my home office. Multiple computers, secure communication channels, and monitoring software that could track digital footprints across the globe. First step, I explained, is to let them think they're succeeding. I'm going to send them exactly the kind of responses they're hoping for: emotional, trusting, financially naive. You're going to play the perfect victim? For now, while they think they're manipulating me, I'll be gathering intelligence on their operation. IP addresses, phone numbers, financial accounts, accomplices. By the time I'm finished, I'll know more about them than they know about themselves. Victoria's response came within 2 hours. My dearest William, you are such a generous soul. The situation is quite complex, but essentially I need to transfer the gallery payment through a secure account before I can access it in the United States. If you could wire $25,000 to cover the transfer fees and customs duties, I would have access to the full $180,000 within days. $25,000. It was probably just the opening bid. If I sent that, they'd manufacture another crisis, then another, each one requiring more money until they drained my accounts completely. Instead, I crafted the perfect response. Victoria, of course I'll help. $25,000 is no problem at all. I have much more than that available if needed. Should I wire it to your account in London? Oh, William, you are my angel. Actually, the transfer needs to go through a secure financial service. I'll send you the details shortly. That night, Carmen and I analyzed the financial transfer instructions. Bill, look at this, she said, pointing at her screen. The account they want you to wire money to is registered to a shell company in Ghana. But the routing information shows it's actually controlled from an IP address in Lagos, Nigeria. Nigerian romance scam. Classic. What else can you find? Carmen's fingers flew across the keyboard. The phone number Victoria gave you is a VoIP line that routes through 3 different countries before terminating at a call center in Accra. The voice modification software she's using is called Voice Changer. It's commonly used by scammers to sound like different genders, ages, or nationalities. And Victoria herself, the real Victoria Sterling, or rather Patricia Walsh, whose photos they stole, has no idea her pictures are being used. I found her social media accounts. She's a single mom in Dublin, posts pictures of her art classes and her teenage daughter. This was personal now. These scammers weren't just targeting me. They'd stolen an innocent woman's identity, probably traumatized dozens of other victims, and were systematically exploiting the loneliness of vulnerable seniors. Carmen, I want to trace their entire operation. How many people are involved? How much money they've stolen? How many victims they're currently targeting? That's going to take serious resources. Bill, we're talking about international investigation, possibly illegal surveillance. I have the resources. And as for the legal issues, let me worry about that. The next morning, I made a phone call I hadn't made in 3 years. Detective Rachel Martinez, Phoenix PD Cybercrime Division. Detective Martinez, this is William Harrison. I'm calling about a romance scam operation that I believe is targeting seniors throughout Arizona. Mr. Harrison, are you a victim of this scam? Not exactly. I'm bait. There was a long pause on the other end. Mr. Harrison, I think you need to come in and explain this situation in person. 2 hours later, I was sitting in Detective Martinez's office, laying out everything Carmen and I had discovered. Rachel Martinez was a sharp woman in her early 40s who'd been working cybercrime cases for 15 years. Mr. Harrison, what you're describing sounds like a large-scale operation. But you said you're not actually a victim. Detective, I retired from Cyber Shield Technologies 3 years ago. I spent my career hunting people like this. Now they've made the mistake of hunting me. I handed her a folder containing everything we'd uncovered so far. I want to work with your department to take down this entire operation, but I also want to go after them personally. They've picked on the wrong senior citizen. Detective Martinez reviewed our evidence carefully. Mr. Harrison, this is solid intelligence, but I have to ask, why not just block them and move on? Why put yourself at risk? Because they're not just targeting me, Detective. They're targeting every lonely senior in Arizona who might fall for their lies. What are you proposing? I want to feed them information that makes me look like the perfect victim. Wealthy, isolated, technologically naive. While they're focused on stealing from me. You and I gather evidence to shut down their entire operation and hopefully rescue some of their other victims. Mr. Harrison, that's extremely dangerous. These people can be violent when cornered. Detective, I didn't build a cybersecurity empire by avoiding danger. I built it by being smarter, more prepared and more ruthless than the people trying to attack my systems. Rachel Martinez studied me for a long moment. What do you need from the Phoenix PD? Official backing for the operation, help with legal surveillance and arrest warrants when we identify the perpetrators. And what are you bringing to this partnership? I smiled for the first time since this whole thing began. 35 years of experience destroying people who think they're smarter than I am. That evening, I sent Victoria another message. My darling, I've arranged for the $25,000 wire transfer. It should arrive in your account tomorrow morning. I'm so excited about finally meeting you when you return from London. I've been thinking, perhaps we should discuss our future together. I have substantial assets that I'd love to share with the right woman. The response came within minutes. William, you have made me the happiest woman in the world. I can't wait to hold you in my arms and start our life together. There is so much I want to tell you about my feelings, my dreams, our future. I closed the laptop and poured myself a scotch. Tomorrow, the real game would begin. Victoria, or whoever was hiding behind that stolen identity, thought they'd found the perfect mark. Their lonely, wealthy widower, ready to hand over his life savings for the promise of companionship. What they'd actually found was a predator disguised as prey. And by the time I was finished with them, they'd understand exactly why CyberShield Technologies had never been successfully hacked in 35 years of operation. The hunter was about to become the hunted, and at 73 years old, I was about to remind the world that experience beats youth, preparation beats desperation, and nobody, absolutely nobody, steals from William Harrison without paying a price they'll never forget. The wire transfer I sent them was completely fake, but they didn't know that yet. While they were celebrating their big score, I was tracing their entire operation back to its source. The fake $25,000 wire transfer cleared at 9 a.m. Arizona time, which meant it was 4 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, prime working hours for the scammer call center I'd identified. Carmen and I sat in my home office, monitoring multiple screens showing network traffic, phone traces, and financial transactions. Bill, they're moving fast, Carmen said, pointing to her laptop. 30 minutes after your fake transfer hit their account, they tried to withdraw $15,000 in cash from 3 different ATMs in Lagos. Only they can't access the money because it doesn't actually exist. I smiled grimly. That $25,000 is sitting in a secure CyberShield escrow account that I control. It looks real to their banking system, but the moment they try to move it, it vanishes. My phone rang. Victoria's number. William, my darling. The voice was breathless with excitement and probably relief. The transfer went through perfectly. You have saved my entire business deal. I'm so happy I could help, Victoria. When will you be returning from London? Actually, there's been a wonderful development. The gallery wants to purchase 5 additional paintings, but there's a small complication with the insurance coverage. Here we go again. What kind of complication, sweetheart? The insurance company requires a $50,000 security deposit before they'll cover the additional artwork during transport. It's completely routine, but I don't have access to that much cash while I'm abroad. $50,000 now. The hook was getting bigger. Victoria, that's a substantial amount. Are you certain this is legitimate? Oh yes, completely legitimate. I have all the documentation. William, I know it's a lot to ask, but this could be the biggest sale of my career. The commission alone would be over $200,000. I let silence stretch on the line, as if I was wrestling with the decision. All right, I said finally. I'll arrange the transfer. But Victoria, I need to ask you something. Anything. Darling, when you return to Phoenix, I'd like you to meet my son Tommy. He helps me with financial decisions, and he's been asking questions about our relationship. The pause was telling. It lasted exactly 7 seconds, long enough for panic to set in, short enough to maintain the facade. Of course, William. I'd love to meet your son. Family is so important. After I hung up, Carmen looked at me with admiration. That was brilliant. You just introduced uncertainty into their operation. Now they have to worry about whether your son might expose them. It gets better. There is no son named Tommy. My actual son is named David. He lives in Seattle, and he doesn't help me with financial decisions. But they don't know that. So now they're going to spend time and resources researching a fictional person, while I spend time researching the very real people trying to steal from me. I opened a secure terminal and began typing commands that would have impressed my old team at CyberShield. Within minutes, I was inside the Lagos banking system, tracing the digital footprints of Victoria's operation. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Carmen. Look at this, I said, pointing to a spreadsheet that had appeared on my screen. They're not just running one romance scam. They're running dozens simultaneously. The spreadsheet contained a list of 47 active relationships, each with a target's name, estimated net worth, and amount already stolen. The ages range from 58 to 89. The stolen amounts range from $5,000 to $450,000. Jesus, Bill, look at this one. Dorothy Martinez, 81, Tucson. They've taken $230,000 from her over 8 months. And this one, I said, scrolling down. Robert Chen, 72, Flagstaff. $180,000 stolen, and they're still working him for more. Carmen was reading over my shoulder. There are victims in every major city in Arizona. Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff, Sedona. This is a systematic operation targeting Arizona seniors specifically. I felt cold anger settling in my chest like ice. These weren't random crimes of opportunity. This was a calculated assault on the most vulnerable members of my adopted state, seniors who'd worked their entire lives saved for retirement and were now having their golden years destroyed by predators half a world away. Carmen, I want you to help me do something that's probably illegal in 12 different ways. What did you have in mind? I want to hack into their entire operation and document everything. Every victim, every stolen dollar, every member of their organization. Then I want to reverse every transaction they've made in the past 6 months. Carmen stared at me. Bill, that's not hacking. That's cyber warfare. Good, because that's exactly what this is. Over the next 4 hours, I deployed every technique I'd learned in 35 years of cybersecurity. Social engineering, network penetration, financial system manipulation, and psychological profiling. By sunset, I had a complete picture of the organization trying to steal from me. The operation was run by a man named Marcus Johnson, T4, operating from a call center in Lagos. Marcus had assembled a team of 12 people, each playing different roles in the romance scams. Some created fake profiles and managed online relationships. Others handled phone calls and voice manipulation. Still others managed the financial side, money laundering, account transfers, and cash withdrawals. But Marcus Johnson had made one critical mistake. He'd gotten greedy. Instead of staying small and under the radar, he'd expanded his operation too quickly. He was now stealing over $200,000 per month from Arizona seniors alone, and similar amounts from victims in Florida, California, and Texas. Bill, this is bigger than just romance scams, Carmen said, reviewing the files I'd extracted. Look at this. They're also running fake charity scams, tech support scams, and social security fraud operations. How much in total? Based on these records, they've stolen over $3.2 million in the past year, just from seniors. That night, I called Detective Martinez and requested an emergency meeting. Mr. Harrison, it's 9 p.m. This better be important. Detective, what I found is going to require federal involvement. We're not talking about a simple romance scam anymore. We're talking about an international criminal organization that's systematically targeting American seniors. An hour later, Detective Martinez was sitting in my home office, reviewing printouts of everything I'd discovered. "Mr. Harrison, how exactly did you obtain this information?" "Let's just say that my cybersecurity background proved useful." "Bill," she said, using my first name for the first time, "what you've shown me is evidence of crimes totaling over $3 million. But some of these files, how did you access Nigerian banking systems?" "Detective, do you want to arrest the criminals or arrest me for catching them?" She was quiet for a long moment. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to contact the FBI's cybercrime division. This is now an international case involving wire fraud, money laundering, and organized criminal activity. I also need protection for the victims whose information I've uncovered. What about your own situation with Victoria?" "First, I'm going to destroy them. All of them. Starting with Marcus Johnson." "Bill, you can't take the law into your own hands. I'm not taking the law into my own hands. I'm using their own systems against them, while you build a legal case that will put them in prison for the rest of their lives." The next morning, I sent Victoria a message that would accelerate their timeline. "My dearest Victoria, I've arranged for the $50,000 insurance deposit, but I've been thinking about our future, and I want to do something special. When you return to Phoenix, I'd like to transfer $500,000 into a joint account for us. It would be my engagement gift to you. $500,000, the kind of number that would make them abandon caution and move fast." Victoria's response came within 20 minutes. "William, I am overwhelmed by your generosity. $500,000 it's more than I ever dreamed." "Yes, my darling, yes. I accept your proposal. I will cut short my London trip and return to Phoenix immediately. We can be together within days, perfect." Now they were operating on my timeline instead of theirs. "Carmen," I called from my office, "they're taking the bait. Victoria is supposedly flying back to Phoenix to collect $500,000 and marry me. What's your next move?" "I'm going to give them exactly what they want, and when they reach for it, I'm going to snap the trap shut." That afternoon, my actual son David called from Seattle. "Dad, I got your message about the romance scammer. Are you seriously hunting cyber criminals at 73 years old?" "David, these people have stolen over $3 million from seniors just like me. If I don't stop them, who will?" "Dad, you retired. You're supposed to be playing golf and reading books." "Son, I spent 35 years protecting people from predators exactly like these. Retirement doesn't mean I stop caring about justice." "What do you need from me?" "I need you to play the role of the suspicious son who's investigating Victoria. I've told them about a fictional son named Tommy, but they might try to research my real family. If they contact you, pretend to be protective of my money but not entirely opposed to my relationship." "Dad, this sounds dangerous." "David, the most dangerous thing I could do is nothing. These criminals think they can steal from vulnerable seniors because nobody will fight back. I'm about to prove them wrong." 2 days later, Victoria sent me a message that confirmed everything I suspected. "My darling William, I have wonderful news. I'm boarding my flight to Phoenix this evening. I can't wait to hold you in my arms and begin our life together. However, there's one small issue with customs. They're requiring an additional $30,000 security deposit because I'm carrying valuable artwork. Could you wire this amount to ensure I can leave London without delays?" This was the classic escalation pattern. Every time I sent money, they'd manufacture a new crisis requiring more money. But they'd made a crucial error. They'd given me a specific arrival time and location. I forwarded Victoria's message to Detective Martinez, along with a note. "They claim to be landing at Phoenix Sky Harbor tomorrow at 6 p.m. on British Airways, Flight 288. Might be worth having someone at the airport." Her response came immediately. "Bill, there is no British Airways Flight 288 arriving tomorrow. There is no Victoria Sterling on any passenger manifest. But I've got FBI agents monitoring all international arrivals just in case." That evening, I sent Victoria my final message as the trusting victim. "My dearest Victoria, I've wired the $30,000 for customs. I'm so excited to finally meet you tomorrow. I'll be waiting at the airport with flowers. After we meet, we can go directly to the bank and set up our joint account with the $500,000. I love you so much, and I can't wait to start our new life together. What Victoria didn't know was that the $30,000 transfer was as fake as everything else about our relationship. But more importantly, she didn't know that William Harrison had spent the past week infiltrating her entire organization, documenting every crime, identifying every victim, and preparing a counterattack that would destroy everything Marcus Johnson had built. Tomorrow, Victoria Sterling would discover that her latest victim was actually her worst nightmare, and Marcus Johnson was about to learn why you should never, ever try to scam someone who's smarter, more prepared, and more ruthless than you are. The trap was set. The prey was coming to me. And at 73 years old, I was about to remind the world that experience beats youth, preparation beats desperation, and justice sometimes requires taking matters into your own hands. The hunter had become the hunted, and the hunted had no idea what was waiting for them. 6 p.m. at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. I stood in the arrivals area holding flowers and a sign that read Victoria Sterling, knowing she would never show up. But Marcus Johnson didn't know that I knew. I positioned myself where the security cameras would capture everything, with Detective Martinez and 2 FBI agents watching from strategic locations throughout the terminal. Carmen monitored from my car in the parking garage, tracking all digital communications from the scammer network. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "Darling, I'm so sorry. The flight has been delayed 3 hours due to weather in London. I'm devastated to keep you waiting, but I'll be there by 9 p.m. I love you so much." Classic stalling tactic. They needed time to figure out how to extract the $500,000 without actually appearing in person. But I wasn't waiting for Victoria Sterling. I was waiting for something much more interesting. At 6:47 p.m. it happened. A young man approached me cautiously, mid-20s, nervous energy, cheap suit that didn't fit properly. He matched the description Carmen had pulled from Lagos immigration records. Samuel Okafor, age 26, Nigerian citizen who'd entered the United States on a student visa 3 months ago. "Excuse me, sir. Are you William Harrison?" I turned, making sure the FBI agents could see us clearly. "Yes, I am. Are you from Victoria?" "Yes, sir. Miss Sterling sent me to collect you. There was a problem with her flight, and she's stuck at customs. She needs you to come with me to resolve some paperwork." This was their endgame. Get me to a secondary location where they could intimidate me into making the transfers they wanted. "What kind of paperwork?" I asked, playing the confused elderly man they expected. "Immigration papers, sir, because of the artwork she's bringing from London. Very complicated situation. She needs your financial guarantee to clear customs." Samuel was sweating despite the air conditioning. He kept glancing toward the exit, probably where accomplices were waiting. "Of course, I want to help Victoria in any way I can," I said. "Should I bring my checkbook?" "Actually, sir, she said you should bring your laptop. The customs office has Wi-Fi, and you can make the transfer directly." "Perfect." They wanted me to bring the tools I'd need to access my accounts. "Samuel," I said, and watched his eyes widen at the use of his real name. "Before we go anywhere, I need to show you something." I pulled out my phone and opened a video call. On the screen appeared a man sitting at a desk in what was clearly a Lagos call center. He looked up in surprise when he saw the camera. "Hello, Marcus," I said pleasantly. Samuel went pale. Marcus Johnson's mouth fell open on the screen. "Mr. Harrison," Marcus stammered, his voice lacking the confidence he'd shown in our previous calls. How did I get your real number? How did I access your office network? How do I know your real name, your address, your bank account numbers, and the identities of all 12 people working for you?" Samuel was backing away from me now, but Detective Martinez had appeared behind him. "Marcus, let me save you some time," I continued. "I know about Dorothy Martinez in Tucson. You've stolen $230,000 from her. I know about Robert Chen in Flagstaff, $180,000. I know about all 47 victims on your spreadsheet, totaling $3.2 million stolen from Arizona seniors alone." Marcus was frantically typing on his computer, probably trying to delete evidence. "Too late for that," I said. "I've already downloaded everything from your servers. Bank records, victim lists, financial transfers, even the scripts you use to manipulate elderly people." So who are you?" Marcus whispered. "I'm William Harrison. I founded CyberShield Technologies, the company that created the security protocols protecting most of the financial institutions You've been trying to hack. I'm also the man who's about to destroy everything you've built. I nodded to Detective Martinez, who placed her hand on Samuel's shoulder. Samuel Okafor, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. As Samuel was being handcuffed, I kept the video call running so Marcus could watch. Marcus, here's what's going to happen next. In about 30 seconds, FBI agents in Lagos are going to raid your call center. Every computer, every phone, every piece of evidence is going to be seized. You can't do this. You're just an old man. I'm an old man who spent 35 years staying ahead of people exactly like you. Right on schedule, I could hear shouting and commotion in the background of Marcus's video feed. Nigerian police officers appeared on camera, and Marcus's screen went black. Detective Martinez escorted Samuel away while I walked to the parking garage, where Carmen was monitoring the takedown from her laptop. "Bill, it's beautiful," she said, showing me multiple screens of network activity. The Lagos police seized 12 computers, 4 servers, and arrested 8 people. The FBI is tracking financial transfers to recover stolen money. What about the victims? That's the best part. Remember those fake accounts you created to trap their transfers? We're using the same technique in reverse. Every dollar they stole is being traced and returned to the original victims. I sat in the passenger seat of Carmen's car, suddenly feeling every one of my 73 years. Is it over? The Nigerian operation is finished. But Bill, there's something else you need to know. Carmen's expression grew serious. While we were focused on Marcus Johnson, I kept monitoring the romance scam networks. There are at least 6 other operations targeting Arizona seniors. Different groups, different countries, but the same playbook. The weight of it hit me like a truck. We'd taken down one predator, but there were dozens more circling vulnerable seniors across the state. What do we do about them? Bill, you just took down an international criminal organization. You should be celebrating, not planning the next battle. Carmen, 3 weeks ago, I was a lonely widower who almost fell for a romance scam. Today, I'm sitting in a parking garage after watching federal agents arrest people who've stolen millions from seniors like me. I looked at her directly. These criminals think they can target elderly people because we're isolated, trusting, and technologically naive. Most of the time, they're right. But what happens when they target someone who isn't? You mean someone with your background? I mean someone who's mad as hell and refuses to be a victim. That night, I sat in my study reviewing everything we'd accomplished. Samuel Okafor was in federal custody, facing charges that would put him in prison for 20 years. Marcus Johnson and his team were being processed by Nigerian authorities for extradition to the United States. More importantly, we'd recovered $2.8 million of the $3.2 million stolen from Arizona victims. Dorothy Martinez would get her life savings back. Robert Chen would be able to afford his heart medication again, but Carmen was right. There were other predators out there. My phone rang. Detective Martinez. Bill, I'm calling with an update and a request. Go ahead. The FBI wants to offer you a consulting position, Cybercrime Division, specializing in crimes against seniors. Apparently, word has gotten out about what you did today. The offer intrigued me more than I expected. What would that involve? Training law enforcement agencies how to identify and combat elder-focused cybercrime. Developing protocols for tracking international scammer networks. Maybe some undercover work when they need someone with your particular skill set. I thought about Margaret, about the quiet retirement she'd wanted for us. Then I thought about Dorothy Martinez, about Robert Chen, about all the other seniors who were being targeted right now by predators who counted on their victims being too ashamed or confused to fight back. Detective, let me ask you something. How many romance scam cases does your department handle per month? Average? Maybe 15 to 20 reported cases, but we estimate that's only about 10% of actual victims. Most seniors are too embarrassed to admit they were fooled. And how many cases do you actually solve? There was a long pause. Bill, before today, we'd never successfully prosecuted an international romance scam operation. Most of the time, by the time victims report the crime, the money is long gone and the criminals have vanished. Then I accept the FBI's offer. Bill, are you sure? This isn't a game. These people can be dangerous when cornered. Detective, I didn't survive 35 years in cybersecurity by avoiding dangerous people. I survived by being more dangerous than they were. The next morning, Carmen and I began setting up something that had never existed before. Our senior citizen-operated cybercrime fighting unit. We called it the Silver Shield Project. The concept was simple. Recruit technically skilled seniors who could pose as potential victims, gather intelligence on scammer operations, and work with law enforcement to shut them down. "Bill, this is either brilliant or completely insane," Carmen said as we drafted our proposal. "Probably both. But think about it. Scammers target seniors because they assume we're technologically helpless. What happens when they encounter seniors who know more about technology than they do?" Our first recruit was unexpected. Dorothy Martinez, the 81-year-old Tucson woman who'd lost $230,000 to Marcus Johnson's operation. "Mr. Harrison," she said during our video call, "that bastard stole my late husband's life insurance money. If you're putting together a team to hunt these criminals, I want in. Dorothy, this could be dangerous work. Mr. Harrison, I'm 81 years old and I just got scammed out of my life savings. What exactly do I have to lose?" Dorothy, it turned out, had been a computer programmer in the 1970s and 80s, back when coding required understanding systems at the machine level. Her technical skills were rusty, but her instincts were sharp. Our second recruit was Robert Chen from Flagstaff, the 72-year-old who'd lost $180,000. Robert had been a telecommunications engineer and still understood network architecture better than most people half his age. Within 2 weeks, we had 8 senior volunteers, all victims of various scams, all eager to turn their experience into weapons against the predators who'd targeted them. The FBI loved the concept. Having actual seniors pose as potential victims was far more convincing than having young agents try to play elderly roles. Our first official operation targeted a tech support scam based in Mumbai. The criminals would call seniors claiming their computers were infected, then charge hundreds of dollars to fix non-existent problems. Dorothy Martinez volunteered to be our primary operative. "This is Dorothy," she said when the scammer called her number. "Oh my goodness, my computer is infected. How terrible. Please help me fix it." While she kept the scammer on the line with an Oscar-worthy performance of confused elderly woman, Robert Chen traced their network connections, and I documented their entire operation. 3 hours later, we'd identified 12 call center employees, mapped their financial accounts, and gathered evidence of over 200 victims across 6 states. "Bill," Detective Martinez said after reviewing our intelligence package, "this is the most comprehensive scam documentation I've ever seen. How did you gather all this information?" We gave them exactly what they expected: confused seniors who needed help with technology. While they were busy stealing from Dorothy's fake accounts, we were busy stealing their entire operation manual. 6 months after the Marcus Johnson takedown, the Silver Shield Project had helped shut down 11 scammer operations, recovered over $5 million for victims, and trained law enforcement agencies in 12 states. But the most important victory was personal. I wasn't a lonely widower anymore. I was part of a team fighting for something that mattered. I was using skills I'd thought were retired forever. Margaret would have been proud. She'd always said that the best way to honor loss was to prevent others from experiencing it. Every scammer we caught, every victim we protected, every dollar we recovered was a small victory against the predators who targeted the most vulnerable members of our society. And at 73, I'd learned something important. Retirement doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing what's worth fighting for. The romance scammer who'd targeted me thought he was hunting a helpless old man. Instead, he'd awakened a network of silver-haired cyber warriors who were about to make his entire profession a lot more dangerous. The hunter had become the hunted, and we were just getting started. 1 year later, I was standing in the FBI's Quantico training facility, addressing a room full of federal agents half my age, when someone asked the question I'd been expecting. "Mr. Harrison, do you ever feel guilty about destroying people's lives?" I looked out at the audience of cybercrime specialists, financial investigators, and elder abuse prosecutors who'd come to learn about the Silver Shield Project. These were the people who'd be carrying this fight forward long after I was gone. "Agent Morrison," I replied, "I don't destroy people's lives. I restore them. Every scammer we shut down means hundreds of seniors get to keep their life savings, their dignity, and their trust in humanity. The applause was immediate and sustained. Over the past year, our small team of tech-savvy seniors had become something nobody expected. The most effective anti-scam operation in federal law enforcement history, but it hadn't been easy. 6 months after the Marcus Johnson takedown, we faced our biggest challenge yet. "Bill, we have a problem," Carmen said, bursting into my home office, where I was training our newest recruit, 78-year-old Helen Wu, a retired NASA engineer from Tempe. "What kind of problem?" "The scammers are adapting. They figured out that some of their victims are actually law enforcement operations. Look at this." She showed me a message posted on a dark web forum used by international scammers. "Warning, new enforcement technique targeting romance and tech support operations. American law enforcement, using actual elderly people as undercover agents. Targets show unusual technical knowledge and ask suspicious questions. Exercise extreme caution when dealing with Arizona, Texas, and Florida seniors." Our success had made us famous in all the wrong circles. "They're sharing our techniques," Helen said, reading over Carmen's shoulder. "Look at this list of red flag behaviors to watch for." The list was disturbingly accurate. Victim seems overly eager to provide banking information. Victim asks detailed questions about scammer's location or operation. Victims. Computer shows signs of advanced security software. Victim mentions family members in law enforcement. Victim suggests meeting in public places with security cameras. "They've learned our playbook," I said grimly. "We need a new approach." That night I called Detective Martinez with an idea that would either revolutionize our operation or get us all arrested. "Rachel, what if we stopped pretending to be victims and started pretending to be scammers?" "Bill, you want to impersonate criminals?" "I want to infiltrate their networks. Instead of waiting for them to contact us, we contact them. We pose as experienced scammers looking to join their operations." "That's actually brilliant, but also completely illegal. Only if we do it wrong." 3 weeks later, FBI agent Sarah Kim knocked on my door, carrying a briefcase full of legal paperwork. "Mr. Harrison, the Bureau has approved your proposal for Operation Silver Strike. You and your team are now officially designated as undercover assets for the FBI's International Cybercrime Division." Agent Kim was 34, sharp as a blade, and had been working cybercrime cases for 8 years. She'd requested assignment to our unit specifically because she wanted to learn from the seniors who were kicking ass in cyberspace. "What's our operational authority?" I asked. "Broad discretion to infiltrate criminal networks, gather intelligence, and coordinate with international law enforcement. You'll have secure communication channels, legal protection for your activities, and access to FBI technical resources." But the most important change was personal. Dorothy Martinez had moved from Tucson to Scottsdale to work full-time with our operation. At 82, she'd become our most skilled undercover operative, capable of convincing scammers that she was everyone from a confused grandmother to a ruthless criminal mastermind. "Bill," she said during one of our weekly briefings, "I've been thinking about what drives these criminals. It's not just greed, it's contempt. They genuinely believe that elderly people are weak, stupid, and deserving of exploitation. What's your point?" "My point is that every time we catch one of them, we're not just preventing theft. We're proving that seniors are capable, intelligent, and dangerous when crossed." Robert Chen had become our technical specialist, developing sophisticated hacking tools specifically designed for infiltrating scammer networks. His telecommunications background made him uniquely qualified to trace communications across international networks. "The beautiful thing about these criminals," Robert said, "is that they're incredibly sloppy with operational security. They think they're dealing with confused old people, so they don't bother protecting themselves." Our first Operation Silver Strike target was a cryptocurrency scam based in Romania. The criminals were targeting seniors with fake investment opportunities, promising massive returns on Bitcoin purchases. Victims would transfer their retirement savings to purchase cryptocurrency that didn't exist, while the scammers disappeared with the money. Dorothy posed as Mildred Johnson, an 85-year-old widow from Phoenix with $400,000 to invest. "Hello, dear," she said, during her first video call with the Romanian scammers. "My late husband left me quite a bit of money, and my grandson says I should invest it in these Bitcoin things." Can you help an old lady figure out how this works? While Dorothy played the perfect target, Robert traced their network infrastructure, and I infiltrated their partner operations across 3 countries. Within 2 weeks, we'd mapped their entire organization. The cryptocurrency scam was run by Alexandru Popescu, 29, from a converted warehouse in Bucharest. His team of 8 people was stealing approximately $500,000 per month from seniors across the United States. But Alexandru had made a critical mistake. He'd gotten lazy. Instead of creating individual scam operations, he'd started franchising his techniques to other criminals. For a percentage of profits, he'd provide fake websites, scripted phone calls, and money laundering services to scammer groups in Nigeria, India, and the Philippines. "Bill, this is bigger than anything we've seen before," Agent Kim said after reviewing our intelligence. "He's not just running one scam, he's enabling dozens of them. How much in total?" Based on the financial records you've accessed, his network has stolen over $12 million in the past year. Just from American seniors. That night, I made a decision that surprised even me. Instead of immediately turning our evidence over to the FBI, I sent a message directly to Alexandru Popescu. "Alexandru, this is William Harrison. I know about your operation, your partners, and your victims. I know about the $12 million you've stolen from American seniors. I also know something you don't. You've made a very expensive mistake." His response came within an hour. "Who are you? How did you get this number?" "I'm a 73-year-old American who spent his career building cybersecurity systems. For the past year, I've been hunting people exactly like you. You've been targeting vulnerable seniors because you think we're helpless. You're about to discover how wrong you are. What do you want?" Alexandru typed. "I want you to understand something before the FBI arrests you tomorrow morning. Every senior you've stolen from has a family, has children and grandchildren who love them, has worked their entire lives for the money you took in minutes. You cannot touch me. I am in Romania. Alexandru, Romanian police are surrounding your warehouse right now. FBI agents are seizing your servers. Interpol has frozen your bank accounts. Your 8 employees are being arrested as I type this message." I could see Alexandru frantically typing, probably trying to contact his team. But it was too late. "How?" "Because I've been inside your network for 2 weeks. I've seen every email, every financial transaction, every victim list. I've documented every crime you've committed since 2019. There was a long pause before his final message. "You are just an old man. How could you destroy everything I built?" "Alexandru, that's exactly the attitude that made you vulnerable. You assumed that age equals helplessness. You were wrong. 6 months later, Alexandru Popescu was extradited to the United States and sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. His network of partner scammers was shut down across 4 countries, and over $8 million was recovered for victims. But the real victory came in a letter I received from one of those victims. "Mr. Harrison, my name is Patricia Walsh, and I'm the 89-year-old woman from Flagstaff, whose life savings were stolen by Alexandru's people. Thanks to your Silver Shield project, I got back $180,000 that I thought was gone forever. But more than that, you gave me back my faith in justice. I'm 89 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm proud to be a senior citizen. Thank you for showing the world that we're not as helpless as people think." That letter sits framed on my desk today, next to a photo of Margaret. As I write this, I'm 74 years old, and the Silver Shield project has grown far beyond what I ever imagined. We now have 23 senior operatives working across 12 states, partnerships with law enforcement agencies in 15 countries, and a training program that's been adopted by Interpol. More importantly, we've fundamentally changed how criminals view elderly targets. The dark web forums that once shared tips for exploiting seniors now warn scammers to avoid American elderly victims entirely. "Too dangerous," one post read. "These old people are not what they seem. Stay away from seniors in Arizona, Texas, and Florida." Dorothy Martinez, now 83, has become the FBI's most successful undercover operative in the cybercrime division. Last month, she single-handedly infiltrated a romance scam network in Ghana that had stolen over $6 million from American seniors. Her cover identity as a lonely, wealthy widow was so convincing that 3 different scammer operations tried to recruit her simultaneously. "Bill," she told me after the operation. These criminals made a fundamental error. They assumed that because we're old, we're also stupid. They never considered that we might be old and brilliant. Robert Chen developed hacking tools that are now standard equipment for FBI cybercrime units. His senior spyware can infiltrate scammer networks while appearing to be harmless programs like solitaire games or email software. The beauty of targeting criminals who underestimate seniors, Robert said, is that they never see us coming. But the most important achievement of the Silver Shield project wasn't operational, it was cultural. We'd proven that seniors weren't just potential victims. We were active defenders of our communities, capable of fighting back against predators who targeted the most vulnerable members of society. The romance scammer who'd tried to steal from me thought he was hunting a helpless widower. Instead, he'd awakened a generation of silver-haired cyber warriors who were about to make his entire profession extinct. Carmen Rodriguez, now 46, left her consulting business to become the full-time director of the Silver Shield project. Under her leadership, we'd expanded beyond scam fighting into broader elder protection work. Bill, when we started this, I thought we were just helping you get revenge on some scammers, she said during our first anniversary celebration. I never imagined we'd create a movement. The movement had spread far beyond Arizona. Senior centers across the country were requesting Silver Shield training programs. Retirement communities were establishing their own cybersecurity teams. ARP had endorsed our methods and was funding expansion into 30 additional states. But the most satisfying moment came during a congressional hearing on elder abuse prevention, when Congressman James Wilson asked me to explain how a group of seniors had become more effective at fighting cybercrime than traditional law enforcement. Congressman, the answer is simple, I replied. We understand the mindset of both sides. We know how it feels to be targeted because of our age, but we also know that experience, wisdom, and determination can overcome youth, technology, and criminal intent. Mr. Harrison, what would you say to seniors who feel helpless against these kinds of crimes? I thought about Margaret, about the quiet retirement she'd wanted for us. Then I thought about all the seniors who were sitting in their homes right now, afraid to answer their phones, afraid to check their emails, afraid to trust anyone who offered companionship or assistance. I'd tell them that being 70 or 80 or 90 doesn't make you helpless. It makes you experienced. You've survived wars, raised families, built careers, and overcome challenges that would break younger people. Don't let criminals convince you that age is a weakness. It's a strength, and if they're already victims of these scams, I'd tell them that being victimized once doesn't mean you have to stay victimized forever. Every senior who fights back makes it harder for criminals to target the next victim. Every person who refuses to be ashamed of being fooled makes it easier for other victims to come forward. As I finish writing this story, I'm sitting in the same patio where I received Victoria Sterling's first message 2 years ago. The Arizona sunset is painting the desert mountains gold again, but this time I'm not alone. Dorothy is here, reviewing intelligence reports from our latest operation. Robert is debugging a new piece of surveillance software. Carmen is coordinating with FBI agents in 3 different time zones. We're not just senior citizens anymore. We're a force for justice that criminals across the world have learned to fear. The romance scammer who tried to steal from me thought he was targeting a vulnerable old man with deep pockets and shallow defenses. He was wrong on every count. I wasn't vulnerable. I was experienced. I wasn't old. I was seasoned. I didn't have shallow defenses. I had 35 years of cybersecurity expertise, and I wasn't alone. I was part of a generation that had survived everything life could throw at us, and wasn't about to let a bunch of criminals steal our golden years. Margaret always said that the best revenge was living well, but sometimes, I've learned, the best revenge is making sure the people who hurt you never get the chance to hurt anyone else. The Silver Shield project motto, printed on business cards we hand out at senior centers across America, reads, "Age is not a weakness. Experience is not obsolete. Seniors are not victims. We are guardians, protectors, and warriors. Cross us at your own peril." At 74, I've discovered that retirement doesn't mean the end of purpose. It means choosing a purpose worth fighting for. The scammers thought they were hunting helpless prey. Instead, They awakened an army of silver-haired cyber warriors who turned their own weapons against them. The hunter became the hunted, and the hunted became the teachers, showing the world that wisdom, experience, and righteous anger are the most powerful weapons of all. Welcome to the Silver Shield generation. We're not your grandparents' seniors. We're the seniors your criminals should be afraid of.